Yes, people. Welcome back to that Get to Know show hosted by me, Jem, and my guy, Indiana. Indiana, how you doing, my man? You good?
I'm all good. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, same, man. We've been planning this for how long? It's been about 2 weeks, isn't it? At least 2 weeks we've been trying to get this guy on. Yeah, so listen, guys, it's a new show that me and Indiana have decided to put together on the first 11. Our first person, that first host coming on is someone that's actually given us the opportunity to be able to, do what we're doing today. Someone
that's why we're in it,
yeah, it's why we're here. It's why we're here. It's why we're here. Got a lot of respect for him. It's my guy, Terry Flewers. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, I'm good, boys. Thanks for having me on. It's just kind of weird being the guest with you two as opposed to hosting, but that's all good. There's less pressure. Well,
you haven't heard the questions yet, so you don't know what the pressure is.
True.
Yeah. It's not gonna be nothing hard. Don't worry about that. But moving into it, Terry. We're going to talk about the Man United. Well, you've given us your Man United 11, which I want to share with the people. So let's just quickly get this up. Why is it not letting me do it now? There we go. I'm in a nightmare already. 2 seconds, guys. Right, where are you? This is Terry's Manchester United 11, people. Here it is. Beautiful. From top to bottom, Peter Schmeichel. We've got Peter Schmeichel in goal. We've got Neville, Stam, Rio and Owen at the back. Carrick and Roy Keane in the middle. Scholes just sitting in front of them. Giggs on the left, Ronaldo on the right. And man like Wayne Rooney leading. Indiana, do you want to start this one, mate?
Yeah. First thing I want to ask you is, who's your favourite player? And also, who's the most important player? They don't have to be your favourite player.
My favourite player isn't even in there. Like growing up as a kid, David Beckham was the guy. So, but I wouldn't put him ability-wise on that pitch. My favourite, weird choice really, is Michael Carrick. I love what he did as a baller. He didn't have to crunch into tackles. He didn't have to run around like a headless chicken. He was just cool, calm, and collected. Could read the game. His eye for a pass was sensational. And I just enjoyed watching his football ability. And I remember being in a Champions League game. I was in Italy when I used to travel quite a bit with Man United. And I remember reading a paper I was looking at the pictures because I don't speak or read Italian.
Yeah.
But all they focused on it wasn't Cristiano Ronaldo. It wasn't Paul Scholes. It wasn't Ryan Giggs. It was how good Michael Carrick was. And I remember thinking, I hadn't seen anything like this in England ever about Michael Carrick, and on the continent where I think their palate for football, it had media-wise was better. I think we're getting better over here. It just explained how good he was as an individual. So yeah, Michael Carrick out of all of those was my personal favorite in terms of the best on that pitch. It's Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not even a debate. He's the greatest footballer to ever play in the Premier League.
I hear that. In terms of the forward line, Terry, I can see obviously you've gone for Wayne Rooney. Obviously, a lot of Man United fans would probably shout out for Ruud van Nistelrooy. Obviously, he's not in this for you. Is Wayne Rooney Manchester United's greatest ever striker?
I think Rooney loses the vote because of his transfer requests and everything else surrounding it. It's recency bias, I assume. In another 30, 40 years when the conversation happens and whatnot, I think he'll be remembered more like a Sir Bobby Charlton, more like a Dennis Law, more like a George Best. I think people will look back and really appreciate what Wayne. Sometimes it takes a long time for a player to get the notoriety they deserve. Some get it straight away. Wayne Rooney was just absolutely phenomenal as a football player. Could play as a 9, could play as a 10, could play as a support striker, could play left, right. It's the reason why I picked him in this team because I think as a goal scorer, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Andy Cole, York in my time were better. As a support striker, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was a better finisher. I think as a support striker, Teddy Sheringham and Eric Cantona had elements that they were absolutely world class at. But Wayne Rooney could do all them jobs. So when he's playing, he can drop, he can go left, he can move into channels. He just overall, as an overall football player, I think I always change my mind about this, but I'm set on it in recent times. Wayne Rooney is the best striker Man United have had, best forward Man United have had. Outside of Ronaldo, who was more of a right winger when he came, that Man United have had in the Premier League, in my opinion. Just an absolute beast of a player. with technical ability off the Ritz scale.
Yeah, the things he could do, the different positions he picked up, the different systems under Fergie, with different players. He was always the man, wasn't he? No matter who was around him, he was always the guy. But I'm always going to struggle to leave York and Cole out of a Man United all-time 11. I always will, because that's my greatest memories. But that's the question I want to ask you: is what's your first, like your most fondest memory of Manchester United as a kid growing up?
I mean, the one that always stands out is, of course, that moment when Solskjaer won it, because the euphoria and the excitement was amazing. My first ever game is probably one of the most epic games you could ever go to, let alone being your first, was the FA Cup replay in 1999 against Arsenal. Just out of this world. That stands out to me. David Beckham's goal from the halfway line is a moment in terms of that. But I think it was loads of good moments, winning league titles and FA Cups in the build up to that. But the most vivid memory is that treble period, because that 2-week run, we beat Spurs, we clinched the title. We beat Newcastle. Felt like a bit of a formality. It prolonged the inevitable. That Wednesday night, Champions League finals, kids used to be on Wednesday nights. Yeah, I remember having to go to school. No one in my school, there was one other kid that supported Man United. I'd moved to Essex by then, and everybody else was like West Ham, Tottenham, Arsenal. And I remember thinking, if I've got to go to school and we've lost, I knew I was going to get so much stick. Yeah, and the way we did it as well in the last couple of minutes, it was just amazing. And I actually used it as a project for my GCSEs as well. I remember doing a whole big kind of thing on it, and the kind of the sports element behind it, the psychology element. Yeah, just an amazing moment. Amazing.
Yeah, no. I remember. I actually remember being on my mum's sofa. I was about 8 or 9 years old. I remember jumping up and down as a kid, still in primary school, well, junior school, jumping up and down. That Solskjaer goal was my fondest memory. And it wasn't until I was a bit older where I realised how important Roy Keane's semi-final performance was.
Yeah,
yes. I was older, and then I was like, okay, wow, this is a player that's...
And being at home, my dad's a Spurs fan, my brother support Arsenal and Liverpool and the like, and being at home, going 2-0 down in that semi-final to Juve, I was getting pelters. It was like, trouble ain't happening. I remember just sitting there thinking, I'm out. But then my dad just said something, and he's like, well, it hasn't really changed for Man United. Like, he said, what we after going 1-0 down, and then going 2-0 down, I think mathematically we still needed the same amount of goals to go through because of the away goal. We still only need 2 to win. And then Roy Keane did something which was amazing. Gazza got booked in the semi-final in 1999, and I think he lost his head after that. He cried, and he allowed his disappointment of knowing he wouldn't be in the final. I think it took 20% off of his game. Roy Keane and Paul Scholes together, they knew they were missing it. Keno early, and they stepped up, and it was like, well, this is my final. Then I'm going to get my team to that final, and it's almost the selflessness of that to ensure that his teammates would have the opportunity to win it. He put in one of the best performances of a Man United midfielder ever, both technically on the ball, scored a goal, but it was the leadership, the organization. I don't think Juve have been good in the last 5-6 years. That Juve team was one of the greatest teams ever constructed. It was out of this world, the players they had in it, and we dominated them in Turin, which seldom happened. And the goals we scored were great, and we finished it off. So, yeah, I mean, all of them are massive. The interesting thing about the final, I knew we were going to win. It sounds weird. I was like, we are going to score. Yeah. Even when it was like 90th minute came up, I'm like, we're going to. At not one point did I stop believing that we were going to score, and then it happened. It was just, it's just. I always get a smile about it now because it's just one of the most happiest. I mean, I went to bed. Just honestly, one of the best moments of my life.
How I felt when we blew me one against Bayern Munich in their backyard, the Champions League, man. That was probably the best feeling I've ever had of watching a Chelsea game. But going on to that, actually, when was the last time you went to Old Trafford and watched a game? And who was you playing?
The last game I went to, do you know what? Obviously, nothing in the last year because it hasn't been on, but it was probably in... I'll check last game at Old Trafford, I have to think about. The last game I went to was the FA Cup final where you Chelsea beat us. It's interesting because I had a season ticket for for about 4 or 5 years. Prior to that, I just used to get tickets wherever I could. And I probably spent about 6 or 7 years going religiously, home and away. We started a big London supporters club towards the end of that. And then essentially I got married and had a baby. Little Archie was born. And at the time, with what I was earning, I couldn't warrant the cost of the season ticket and traveling. Because barring West Ham, I traveled every single game. That's the cross you bear for being a Southern United fan. And I just couldn't afford it. And then when I started earning more money, the opportunities on YouTube had done what they did, and I just got to a point where I had to make a decision around going to the games or trying to grow the football terrace. And you guys know what's coming with the football terrace, and it's giving me this opportunity now to turn it into something professional, which is just beyond my wildest dreams. So I miss not going to games. Yeah, but at the same time, going to games led to the opportunity to start making content, and then from that, it's led to this opportunity to create a network. And I can't quite believe it's happened in that way, but my match day experience is might be different. I miss meeting the boys, having breakfast, getting smashed, watching
I love that.
And that same day hangover on the way home. I really miss it. I do, and I think hopefully with what's coming up with the terrace, in a year or so's time, things can settle, and then I can get a schedule where I can maybe get myself to 5 to 10 games a year again, because I want to go. I want to go back and support the team. I miss the smell of the burgers. I miss the smell of the just match day vibe.
Yeah. Everything about it.
Yeah, I really do.
What was your most memorable match, like game that you've been to at Old Trafford, where you'd actually left and it sort of stayed with you for weeks after, and you think, wow, what a game! Like, what an atmosphere!
Oh wow, so many. I think. Do you know what?
Go on.
Wayne Rooney's overhead kick against City. That being in the stadium that day, witnessing it, seeing it. It's one of those moments. I watch it on TV, it looks great, but I was there. Me and my boy were watching. My son's really got into football recently, loves it. And we were looking at like Man United goals and stuff. And he was like, oh, the overhead kick by Rooney. We were looking at it, and I was like, I was there. What do you mean you were there? I said, yeah, I was sitting. I can't see him. I looked like from one of the angles, but that's where Daddy was sitting. He's like, really? I said, yeah, that's where I was. It is like, to see that was amazing. But I remember being so scared for the rest of the game, because I have a theory that great goals only get remembered as great goals if the team wins. Yeah. And like the Rabona the other day from Eric Lamela, no one's going to remember that in a year's time because it didn't win the game. And the fact it was the winner and it was in a Manchester derby that helps us go on. I swear we won the league title that year. I swear we did. It was just all those things. It just, an amazing. And the other time in recent memory was the Olympiacos game with Moyes, where what's his face? Robin Van Persie got the hat trick. I was there for that game, and then it took hours to get home because I got home at 6 a.m. that night, but just was on cloud nine. Yeah, they're probably my most recent two that just stand out massively.
No, I hear that. 100%. Go on,
back to that, Terry. How did you become a Manchester United fan growing up in London? I think your dad's a Spurs fan, right? And you've got a brother who's a Leyton Orient fan. Is that right?
2 are Orient, one's Liverpool, one is Arsenal.
How did this happen?
Firstly, it's my dad's fault. My dad he's an exceedingly liberal man. So if I went, it's Easter Sunday this week, and if we're sitting around the dinner table on Easter Sunday, and one of my brothers says, "Dad, I'm converting to Islam," another one says, "Dad, I'm an atheist," the other one says, "I'm becoming Jewish," and the other one says that I'm going to change my gender. My dad would just say, "Are you happy?" We'd say yes. He'd say, "Well, go for it then, son." My dad's very liberal like that and very open. Where it's come a cropper for him is that he allowed his 5 sons to all pick the football team they wanted. My kids have not had that choice. My children have been, when they were little, my kids, I'll take it off the wall. My kids have been forced into kits and doing what they've been forced into it. It's had to happen. I'll put that back up. Like that's Archie and Frey. Like when that was when Lady Freya was. I know everyone sees her now. That was Lady Freya when she was a baby, just sitting there in an old kit there. Yeah. I had more hair. So yeah, they were forced into it. So that was first point. I could pick what I wanted. But it was random because my nan thought she was buying a Spurs top that was white. She didn't really know. She bought a Man United away kit from the very early 90s. And that was it was a fluke. So if that kit had been a Coventry kit, or that kit had been a I don't know, a Plymouth Argyle kit, not that they're playing white, but it doesn't matter what, I would have picked that team. It was so fluky. And then as a kid, I just watched football a little bit and did whatever. And then as I got a bit older, I was from the same town as David Beckham. The buzz started coming through that this East London boy was going to make it at Manchester United. And that kind of cemented it for me. And then obviously I watched as a kid and enjoyed it, went to some games. And then when I moved to Manchester, that's when the bug caught on me even more, because it was that local feel. I learned when I lived in I love that. When I lived in Manchester, I worked at Phones for You, still do it, in Stockport. And I remember I was working there, and this guy came in and wanted his phone. He wanted the Nokia Sirocco. It was like a silver looking thing, right?
Yeah, I remember.
We only had it available on Vodafone. Went through the deal and everything, and I said, great. And we started doing the contract, and he's like, that's on Vodafone. I said, yeah, well, I'm not having that. So why? Sponsor Man United. I said, right, okay. I'm not doing anything. It was his words. I will not financially support that football club ever. I will not financially support their endeavors. And that word, I use that now. That's why I don't buy kits of other clubs, because it's like, no, right. And it was, again, in London, no one cared because it's so vast and we're separated by postcode, and there isn't the same tribalism in London around sport. I don't feel. Even there is a bit with West Ham and things, and West Ham and Millwall and whatnot. But it's like no one. I know people wore Dr. Martin boots. It didn't matter what club he supported. It didn't matter. But the Man City fans wouldn't have Vodafone, and I've never seen that. And it just stuck out to me. And yeah, I got the bug, and that's when I started going to games regularly. And it was amazing to live there and experience it. And I lived. But I actually lived there in the time where Chelsea had Jose. I lived there United, but it was. So that's how it kind of happened. And once you pick a team, you can't change. You fall in love. And that's it.
In terms of your background before, obviously taking this very serious and turning it into a business, which you have today, and very successful one. What was you doing? What was you doing in terms of your career, Terry?
So my life is weird. Like, I've done a lot of things for a young guy. So I left school, and at the time I was part of Team GB, karate and kickboxing, and I was okay. At the time, I thought I was amazing, but I was okay. Yeah. I had numerous British and European titles. I ended up winning a few world championship medals. I was okay at it. And I say that because there were people that I had the same titles as others. So I won a British title, and a young lady that used to train with me, much younger than me, called Ruby Planson. She won the same titles as me. She's now one of the main. She was an amazing martial artist. She's one of the Amazon women in Wonder Woman. She's a wonderful stunt lady. A good friend of mine, Chloe Bruce, one of my friends, Joey Answer. Streets ahead of me. We had the same titles, but streets ahead of me. He was the guy that played Desh in the Born Ultimatum. He had a big fight with a book in the neck and that. A lot of my friends went on to be stuntmen and stuff. I tried. I just weren't good enough, and I'm quite on it. When I try things and I'm not good enough, after a while, it's like, I need to try and find something else. I got a really bad knee injury in the middle of it all, and I needed to earn money because I couldn't do anything. So I worked on some films. I worked on a few small films, a few TV shows. I was doing all right. My friends carried me though. So I'd have one of my friends would get a really good gig on a film, and I'd be like, they'd bring me along and give me a small part. Like I remember there's this big fight scene being, and I'm like, what's my job? And they were like, yeah, you're collecting glasses in the background. I'm like, raw, that's what I'm doing here. Like, and I weren't good enough for it. And I know that now, and I can say that with there's no pain.
What level did you hit though, Terry? Where, because this comes into a question that I had as well. So how did you get into it, and what level did you get to in terms of age? And
so martial arts, I started karate when I was young because I watched The Karate Kid. Hence LaRusso. Sounds weird, but that character, as I wouldn't be here without that film. It's a very important part of my life because The Karate Kid made me start karate, and I did it for a number of years in East London. Stopped for a few, moved to Essex, and then found this. It was a full-time karate club. Tang Sudo was the traditional art, but I watched it through the window, and they were doing these things called musical forms. It was like martial arts fused with gymnastics, performed to music.
Yeah.
And fighting and self-defense and everything else. And I was like, wow. I was like, how many times? And I was doing karate before. It was like two 2 or 3 1-hour lessons a week. And I'm like, oh, what's your lesson? Like, it's 3:30 till 10 p.m. every day. And at weekends, it's 9 a.m. in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. I was like, oh, well, all of it. And it was like 80 quid and you could just do all of it. And I started and I got the bug and I did that. And I was okay. Maybe I'm being disrespectful. Like 18 months into joining, I was British champion, which was pretty quick. I was a British champion before I'd been awarded my black belt within that sort of particular style. And then I went on to compete in Europe. I went to a few world championships and I was good. Like I came third in the world twice in the weapon discipline that I was in, won multiple British titles. I was an average fighter. I always knew I just think about fighting. I was much better in the gym training than I was in the actual ring or mats, but I was okay. So from a kata and forms point of view, on a technical level, I some elements I was like one of the best in the world. In other areas, I was okay, if that made sense. So like I was, you get it in swimming, you get Michael Phelps that's great at all of them, and you might get someone else that's just good at breaststroke. I was the breaststroke guy. I could do breaststroke. I was okay at the others type thing. I did well. Yeah, no, and I'm honest about it now. And when I was a kid, I was like, no, I can be the best. And I trained to be the best. So you can find anyone in the gym giving more effort, as fit as me, working as hard as me. And that's why I achieved what I achieved. I didn't have the same talent as other people. I had the perseverance and the work ethic to do it. And then I tried to go into the film industry. And again, just on day one, there were people that they could jump higher, run faster. They were quicker. They were better than me. And I knew it. And I remember thinking, I'm really out of my depth here. Same as when I tried full contact fighting. I won a few fights, I lost a few fights. And I just remember sitting there and I reflected and thought, I'm just not going to, my view was I'm never going to be able to make enough money doing this. And I grew up really poor and I didn't want to grow up poor. I didn't want to become an adult and be poor. So I got an injury and then I started selling phones at Phones for You. And I did that for a little while as a sort of stopgap. Really enjoyed. It turned out I was really good at selling things because I got a big mouth. And yeah, exactly. So I started selling phones, gifted a gab. And then randomly one day, I sold a phone to a bank manager. She was the assistant bank manager, Claire. Love you, a lovely lady. Yeah, she's the assistant bank manager of Stratford in East London. Got chatting, sold her the phone, and then she was like, "Basically, would you like a job at the bank?" Me, a dyslexic Cockney from a housing estate who's a failed stuntman by busted knee. Yeah, right. I work in a bank, and did the job interview. Fake the job. The first one, so you had to do a telephone interview. They said, like, do the first one, give another fake name so you know what the questions are, and then do the real one afterwards. I passed with the name. I was like, shit, what if I fail the real one now? That's going to be embarrassing. I passed that, got the job, and then just the next sort of 13, 14 years working at Barclays and other banks, just at the time of my life, I just enjoyed the environment. I learned a lot of things. You know, I went through different sales roles, management roles. I led complaints teams and everything else. Leadership was important to me. And then I ended up in the private bank, which was just next. My clients were like rich, dumb rich. Like this guy, I remember being in this guy's house and I was like, that's a nice coffee table. And he's like, yeah, I bought it last week. I said, how much was it? Just like 90 grand for a coffee table. It was like, rah, like different world. So I did that for a bit. And in the middle of that, that's how the football Terrace started, because I was running the London Supporters Club, but I was working in the bank, and someone managed to get hold of my details. It was from Channel, it was from Sky, and they said, "Oh, you work in the bank, yeah?" And you're part of you're being Man United going on the stock market. Can you come into Sky News studios on the Ian Bolton show and talk to us about it? I just said, yeah. Turned up thinking they're going to ask me about stocks, and I don't fucking know. I mean, that isn't what I do in the bank.
Yeah.
More of a fan thing, and I got talking, and did well. Did the Ian Bolton show. And then I left, and all these other news companies started calling me. So I went and did them. And then the Full-Time Devils contacted me and said, "Oh, we're starting this YouTube channel. Are you interested?" It's like, yeah. Did a few little bits with them, fan cams and some previews. And then I started doing my own thing alongside it. And probably from 2014 to 2017, it was just a little hobby, a couple of videos a week and whatnot. And then in 2017, I was like, right, I'm going to go for it. I didn't really know what that meant. Just started doing more content, building it out. Yeah. Went from like 9,000 subs, and then 3 years later, it was on like 180,000. It's just been going really well. It's crazy.
But that was my next question, actually, because you're going to roll into it quite nicely. Obviously, the football Terrace is moving mad, and you've done massively well, to get to where you are today. And obviously, from my perspective, I'm sure Indiana can agree, we can't thank you enough to actually allow us to be able to speak football on a platform as big as yours, or actually allow people to come on and have their say like you do. So big respect to you on that. But in terms of the Football Terrace itself, when did you start realizing that it was becoming something big, and did you expect it to become this big?
I suppose big's relative, because there are some people out there that dwarf it, and then other people, they look at it as huge, and I'm very humble about that. I also don't think I'm the best YouTuber in the world. I don't think I'm the best host, best interviewer, but I work hard and I put the energy and efforts in. I suppose for me, it's the reaction people give me when they come on. So there's a young lady we're chatting to at the minute. We want to get involved, and some of her messages back around, "Oh, I can't believe you noticed me." It's so humbling, because be honest, I'm just a football fan who has a YouTube channel that talks, and I don't always come across like that. And I love the feedback that, Terry, you're getting a bit too big for your boots, because I want to be shut down, because my dad has slapped me if he ever thought I was getting like that. Like, being humble is really important. But I suppose, it's the last kind of 24 months. It's just got to a point, and we're really quite lucky. So hey, look, I'm not a big social media influencer. I don't have a lot of followers really on Insta and Twitter. I'm not the kind of person that can say, follow me on this and thousands come. I'm not really like that. I think I know I'm not, and that's fine. I think for me, we have a really good base core that support different clubs now, which is amazing. It's like we'll do a video here about Chelsea. It'll do like a 12 to 15,000. We do a City one, it might do 5,000-6,000. We do a Spurs one, do 8,000-9,000. But when I look at the analytics, it's like it's all unique viewers. It isn't the same people watching all of them. So I really love the fact that we've created a platform where fans from different clubs enjoy different types of content, and every now and then they all come together and we'll do a big show that will do 80,000-90,000 views. We've had that a few times where there's 6,000-7,000 people watching, where they all want to get involved, and I kind of like that. And we haven't done the announcement yet what's coming next. It's just partnering with a huge organization to elevate it. And the big thing that will be very clear to everyone from day one, and you lot are going to get to see one of the big plans around it tomorrow, how we're together. It's about more fans getting a voice. So there's going to be more shows every day, longer shows every day, more content created across multiple platforms, a second channel created, because we want to give more opportunity for fans, both domestically and internationally, to have an opportunity to speak, because that's what I don't want to go away from. I love other people's channels. I love Rants and Bants. I watched a lot of Goldbridge. AFTV is amazing. I watched a lot of, I also watch Chelsea Wise. I watched Nini, like, great. I'm just trying to think of other people like
Expressions.
Expression.
Yeah.
I watch so many people, and it's like they're all amazing at what they do. But I don't want to do what they do because they're great at it. It's like what we're about to create is going to be very, very different. It's almost just what we've created and just amplifying it, because it's more about the fan voice. Because I don't want it to be eventually in 3 or 4 years' time. I don't want people to think Football Terrace Terry Flewers. I want it to be Terrace is a platform. And there's multiple personalities on there that I'm listening to. I like going there because everyone gets to have a say, and it isn't just for eye test merchants or stat merchants. It isn't just for Reds or for Blues. It's this mixture. Getting the mix right of male and female is very, very important to us, because we want to be advocates for that kind of thing as best as we can. And it's crazy, the growth, and I'm so humbled that it's got to where it is.
I think you've been a bit too modest, actually, because I think for what the Football Terrace does and for what you do, I think you are the best at what you do. Otherwise, the Football Terrace isn't what it is. Like, you're not a Rants. We know what Expressions is. Like, for me, Expressions, he should be a comedian. I love the guy. Makes me laugh constantly, right? But he's not going to be. He can't do a Terry Flewers. He can't do it. Like, I've always said to you, like, personally, for me, you are the best in show in terms of what you do, what you bring, giving fans an opinion. You are the best at it, whether people like it or not. For me, you are in that. But I want to ask, what's been your biggest lesson in getting to where you are now, and in terms of where the Football Terrace is going? What's the biggest lesson you have learned in YouTube and streaming?
Focus on yourself. I've been very open about this. In the early years, I was too emotional. So I might feel that someone took an idea from me, or somebody didn't show me the respect I felt I deserved, and I'd let it consume me, and I'd beef online, or I'd say things. And it didn't give me what I thought it would. Not in terms of I didn't really know what I wanted it to do for that person, but I thought it would give me gratification, and it left me feeling empty, and it left me feeling really shit. And I didn't like how it made me feel. So I'm a firm believer in life that you have to the only thing you're in complete control of in this world is your attitude and how you respond to things. And I just decided to not get involved in that anymore. As and where I can, I'll still stand up for things. So with what happened with Prime a few months back, I'll stand up and I'll say something about that as an example. And I think the right thing to do, especially if it's someone I'm in cahoots with and friends with. I'm definitely friends with Prime. So there's this element of I'll do that, but I try to stay away from beef. I try to stay away from online arguments. I'll try and stay away from look for a resolution. I don't want to live in that way. And the reason I say that is because you don't gain anything from it in the long term. Because after people that you go, I'll tell you right. Yeah. I see them on that person's stream. And I'm like, actually, don't really. It was like they just play both sides. That was the bit. I was like, I remember this guy always telling me that I was right. And the person I was beefing with was a knob. And I was watching that person stream. And that guy was super chatting them. And I'm like, the realization is no one cares. So it was like, let's focus on you, Terry. What do you want the Terrace to be? What do you want to do with this? And as soon as I put that energy into myself, focused on me, and 95% of the time steered away from nonsense, things changed and grew overnight. And that was the bit for me. That was the bit where I felt like, that's what I was doing wrong for the last few. And that's my mantra to everything in life now. Like, I focus on progressing me, my family. Like, I spend a lot of time, contrary to what one of your comments said, I spend a lot of time with my family now. And with this new deal, I'll get even more. Because what a lot of people don't know is I do 2 full-time jobs. I do the full and I have a full-time job. And I still spend a lot of time with it. I don't go to bed till 3 a.m. because I'm always covering something. I can't wait to get more free time because especially with lockdown ending, I get to go and see Archie more. And you've got Freya and Jackson that I get more time with. But
it must be hard with kids. I mean, I know you in Indiana have, so balancing that and doing what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis is.
Jem, I sent around Christmas time, I sent Terry a message and I said to him, like, appreciate everything like you've done for me personally, and sort of big up to your missus and kids and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because I run a business. And like, I go on the Terrace, whether I'm doing a stream, even if it's on your channel, it's still taking time out of the day, right? And I've got an older son with an ex-partner. He's at comp now. I've got my daughter's like 4 years old, and I got a 15-month-old son, right? So I know what this means, like in terms of the amount of time you get. So what's the balance before we get into the next first 11?
Yeah.
How do you balance all this, Terry? How do you make it work with a job as well? Obviously,
is there any routine schedule? Well,
there is. The issue I don't sleep. It's something every day. My babies now, their mum does a tremendous job because I couldn't do what I'm doing without her taking lion's share of the babies. But there's a plan, so nothing is done without there being an end result in mind. So the one thing I won't do is the idea is I didn't know how I'd get to this point. I had to work it out, but with what we've got coming up, it's once this announcement's done and we start the new era of the Terrace, grow. But it was to get to that point to give me more time back. So it was a short time element of sacrifice where I had to take the time out to do this, but it put myself into a position. And that's one thing I say to people that are in whether you're in a relationship directly or whether you're co-parenting or whatever the expression is to use. It's finding 2 people that know how to be selfless and selfish at the same time. So there are moments you have to be selfish, but it's because there's an end goal that's going to give you all a better opportunity later on down the line. Would I carry on doing what I'm doing now, work for the next 5-10 years in the same way? I can't. One, I want more time with my children, but secondly, I will die. I will physically die. Level of rest. But there's always been a means to an end, a safety net's been put in place, and I'm just really fortunate to have been able to have done that. And that's kind of it, really. It's just getting that balance in that right. And in terms of lockdown has probably sped the process up because it's enabled me. They've made it easier. So I'll get up in the morning, whoever with the kids, boom, then I'm in here, and it will be 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Maybe half 8. I've doing my shows a bit later now because I've held back because of what we know is coming.
Yeah.
But I do banking work, so it's prepping for meetings. It's responding to a lot of my clients are in China, so it's responding to them on phone calls, and then I'll stream. I'll prep the stream, and then it's another hour or two banking work, stream. Another few hours of banking work, stream. I'll then go to the gyms, bath the kids, put the kids to bed, feed them, have some dinner, and then stream or watch the game and then stream.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's regimented in that way. It's around. Like this international break has been amazing. Like, I actually spent the whole day outside of my streams with the kids doing the gardening, doing nice. But I want more of that, and I'm going to get more of that, and it's going to be amazing. I get to give time back, and this is how busy I am. My car went out of MOT 4 months ago, and I haven't managed to get anything yet. My son, I bought all my son's Christmas presents that got sent to Ireland. One of them I stupidly had sent here. It's been wrapped in a box on my side for 3 months. I ain't gone to the post. That's what I don't have time for. So I will sacrifice little things that need doing to make sure I have time for the kids.
Terrace is worth it. I can tell you
definitely.
from a guy who works 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day, Christmas Eves, everything. It is worth it. I literally work 9 till 5 now through the week. That's it. Saturdays mornings sometimes, because the time with my kids and my family is more valuable to me than the money. That's where I am with it. I'd rather be doing that. But
the other quick thing before we jump on to the other first 11 we had is obviously Winter Surface just put a comment in here, obviously talking about how positive the football terrace has been in for him. And one of the other things I think you've got to bear in mind as well, Terry, is yes, you bring great football content, but it's also the mental health side of things. There's a lot of people out there that are viewing us or watching us do shows on a daily basis, and we're actually having a big influence in their life. And I think it's, again, something that we have to remember. And I think it's great that people are feeling that they look at us as like, I don't know what the word is, maybe security in many ways, if you know what I mean. If they've got a load of stresses in their life, they can come home, they can turn on YouTube, they can tune into you and the regular panelists that are on there. And I just feel like that's another side of things that it's definitely helped, especially with the whole COVID situation as well, massively. But Winter Services says, thanks, Terry, for allowing us to speak about what we love as well. And I think there's a lot of love out there for you, mate, to be honest. And it's not only just from a footballing aspect. So I just want to big you up on that as well.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's helped me a lot as well in terms of like 95% of my interactions are positive. There's always a few, but you know, that's life. You've got to learn to sort of bear that cross. But yeah, it's helped me a lot, especially this last 12 months. Like everyone's been locked up, and the terrace has been amazing.
This is Terry's Prem best ever Prem 11 right here. So Peter Schmeichel's in goal again. Zabaleta, Terry, Rio, Ashley Cole, Patrick Vieira, Yaya Toure, Scholes. I put Henry on the left because you asked me to do a 4-3-3, so I wasn't sure how you wanted me to put
I put Henry on the left. Yeah,
Henry on the left, Ronaldo on the right, and Rooney up front. My biggest question to you would be looking at that midfield. Obviously, I think we've been blessed in the Premier League with so many talents. Obviously, I don't see no Steven Gerrard there. I don't see no Frank Lampard there. But I do see Yaya Toure there. So just wondering why. Why not?
I've opted. Paul Scholes in his younger days played in that attacking role and was amazing at it. With Yaya, so this is all these players in their pomp playing. So I just feel with Yaya and Patrick Vieira in a kind of whether you call it a double pivot or floating eights, I don't really mind. That midfield has everything. It has goals, creativity, defensive acumen, technique, strength. It just has everything you could ever want. And look, Gerrard could be in that team, Lampard could be in that team. There's no doubt. But I think those three, if you look at every attribute needed to be a midfielder, they're statistically and technically the best three midfielders ever in the Premier League.
Did Scholes score a lot of goals though, playing in that position? Because for me, like Lampard, as you already know, is like, you know, all-time greatest goal scorer from the Premier League, midfielder. I'm talking about from that position. Like, do you feel Scholes? Because I've always thought Scholes has played more like that,
so
rather than like that. Do you know what I mean?
All Scholes for me. So mine was more of a midfield 3 without it looking like a 10. So it would be more flat than it being 10 based.
Yeah.
in Paul Scholes' earlier years, when he played, like I think in 1995, 96, he scored 14 goals. Like, he was scoring 10s, 11, 12 like goals a season when he was younger, and he wasn't a 10. He was a midfielder, and of course, Lampard's goal scoring was, in terms of numbers, was superior. But Paul Scholes has the technical. The reason he was played deeper for Man United is because we couldn't find. There's nobody out there better than him in terms of the ability to dictate the play. So that's why I wouldn't actually have him as a 10. I know it's hard when you do these things digitalized, it'd be flat.
Yeah.
That midfield, that midfield's got two good goal scoring midfielders in it. No one as elite as Lampard. But what you miss with Henry and Rooney and Ronaldo, you don't need Lampard's goals.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Put the quality elsewhere. So for me, I think you could do without Lampard's goals because of the technical ability of that midfield. And that midfield can ball and battle at the same time. And then Ronaldo and Henry are scoring in that team, are scoring 25 league goals each. And then Rooney's popping up with his 15 league goals and his 15 assists. And that team does not lose a football match in the Premier League.
I agree. I've literally just come off a stream where we did a Premier League draft. My midfield two were Yaya Toure and Paul Scholes. I was asked about why Paul Scholes? Why didn't you take Lampard? And for me, I always explain Scholes as he's the pass before the assist. That's the way he sees the game. He'll make the pass to the guy who's going to cross the ball in the box or make the pass, make the through ball, as well as being able to score goals and do all those things. He all-round player, complete baller.
And Paul Scholes' goal scoring level was pretty good until after he had a really bad retina injury to his eye, and he had double vision. I realised from 2005 onwards, Barca had double vision and played with it. Double vision. And he played with it. If you actually look at his goal scoring ratio, it was 14, 6, 10, 11, 12, 12, 9, 20, 14, 12. Got the double vision issue, and then the goals dropped off, but he went into a deeper role and just dictated play. Just to be able to do that, and then, by the way, to dominate a midfield and win Premier Leagues in like your late 30s, just technical ability to be able to manage.
Come out of retirement.
Yeah, it was just absolutely like phenomenal in that way. And it's no disrespect to Lampard and no disrespect to Steven Gerrard. I think they're absolutely amazing players. But I'm biased as well. I'm never picking either of them over Paul Scholes. Not ever. It's never going to happen.
No, I hear that 100%. Indiana, you got any questions about this team for Terry, or should we move on?
Is that Ashley Cole you got on left back?
Yeah.
Why was that? Ashley Cole over Dennis Irwin. Is there a reason? Do you feel like Ashley Cole was a better player?
Yeah, I just think Ashley Cole was better. Ashley Cole's the best left back I've ever seen play football live. When he was attacking at Arsenal, he was sublime. When he was defending, he's people talk about now like that. He was as good at defending as AWB, and I felt he was as good at going forward as Trent. Yeah, he moved to Chelsea, and Chelsea didn't really need to do that attacking. So I think he was for the. You got to remember era based. It's era based as well. It was very, very different. I thought he was excellent going forward. He had everything to his game, won everything. I don't remember him having a bad game. I don't remember there being a game or even a period. There wasn't a period of like 3 months where you're like, oh, has he lost it? Ashley Cole was just on point, week in, week out. Second would have been Irwin. And the third choice would have been Patrice Evra, but I would all bias aside, Ashley Cole pips it for me. Yeah.
No, I hear that. Indiana, do you want to move? Let me get rid of this quickly.
Yeah, we thought this is a bit last minute, but we thought we'd do a quick fire round. So it's more about what you prefer, right? So it's only about 30 seconds long. It's not long. So I'm going to give you two options, and you just say which one you would pick. If you're up for that. It's nothing bad. Don't worry. So this is in terms of competitive fighting. So being in your prime, fighting or football?
Fighting.
Scholes or Rooney?
Scholes.
In terms of goals, headers or volleys?
Volleys.
Beautiful women or the beautiful game?
Beautiful women.
Free kicks or skills?
Free kicks.
City or Liverpool?
Who I hate or love the most?
You've got to pick one that you'd have.
Liverpool. Man United are dead without them.
Yeah, that's true. Gerrard or Lampard?
Gerrard.
Great save, great shot.
Great save.
Stats versus eye test.
Oh, fuck
Stats
off.
or eye
You
test?
right setting me up there. Stats.
Gotta ask it. I gotta ask it.
Stats.
Okay. Keane versus Vieira. Ronaldo versus Cole.
I put Vieira in my team, so I'm going to go Vieira. And who was the other one?
So it's Keane versus Vieira,
Yeah.
or Ashley Cole versus Ronaldo.
Oh, the best rivalry.
The best
Vieira.
rivalry.
Oh, Keane Vieira every day of the week.
Great tackle or great ball. So like a great pass or a great tackle. What do you prefer?
I love a great tackle, you know.
Last one is in terms of content, subject or the people.
People.
Well,
Always.
I'm done.
Touching that, also, in terms of the Premier League, what would you say is the greatest ever goal you've seen in Premier League?
Ronaldo's overhead kick. No, Rooney's overhead kick.
Rooney's overhead kick, is it? Yeah.
It's just,
Really?
Yeah, that stands out. Rooney's volley against Newcastle. Henry's volley against Man United, the chest to turn the volley was absolutely brilliant. What other ones stand out?
There's loads in there. Let's be serious.
That's the problem. There's so many to think about.
Yeah.
It's hard to actually like put them all down. I'm trying to. That was really good. One of my favorite goals in recent times was Rashford's free kick against Chelsea. That was amazing. There was a great goal in Hazard scored against West Ham. That was
yeah. What about the one against Arsenal, where he took on the whole team?
That was amazing. Ryan Giggs against Arsenal is another one that stands out in my mind. Just that goal. I tell you, another goal that doesn't ever really get spoken about a lot was not Premier League, but the great 1-2. Man United versus Barcelona, York and Cole, Calypso Football in 99, where they just played it through Barcelona. And so many great goals. But yeah, Rooney's overhead kick is the one that it's my go-to.
Yeah, no, I get that. I hear that. Right, we'll move on quickly, guys. We have got Terry's World 11 here. So we're going to start off with Buffon in goal, Cafu, Rio, Sergio Ramos, Ashley Cole, Zinedine Zidane, Paul Scholes, Iniesta, Ronaldo, Messi, and R9 leading it. Go on, Indiana.
No Ronaldinho?
I know a lot of people that won't like that.
Yeah.
He wasn't as his peak. He was as good as Messi and Ronaldo. Their peaks were just far longer. So yeah, that's why he's not in for me.
Who do you think is the greatest ever player that you've seen in world football?
So when I look at greatest, I accompany everything. So ability, goals, trophies, longevity. So it's Cristiano Ronaldo. The best, I might look at Messi. I could look at R9. You can look at Maradona, Pele. But greatest, I think everything. I think there's a difference between best and greatest. So greatest, I would go with Cristiano Ronaldo. The fact he's done it in the leagues, he's done it in as well. He's still performing at this age. We're never going to see it again. And Messi is just behind him, and there's nothing in it. I'll tell you what the difference is. The only difference in my option is a personal preference. I prefer how Ronaldo played at his pomp to how Messi played. I like them both, but it's just a slight preference, if that makes sense. Like it just is what it is.
What about in terms of Cafu as well? How comes he got in the team?
Cafu is just next level defender. He wasn't really a defender, really. I suppose more. They played there, he's a winger, but he just like I just when I look at it, I was looking at like where's Maldini? Listen, I threw a little bit of English bias in there and put Ashley Cole.
Ram?
Fair, it might be Ram. Maldini could be in that team over Ashley Cole, but I think if you look at them as fullbacks, I think Ashley Cole's his pomp's got a shout. I really do. Maldini is absolutely amazing. I threw Sergio Ramos in there to wind some people up, to be honest, just because I think do you know what it is? I don't think Sergio Ramos gets enough. And also, by the way, I tried to pick the reason I didn't pick Maldini on a real level is I tried to pick players that I remember watching on a good number of occasions. I didn't watch enough of Maldini. Really, it just doesn't resonate with me. Where I used to enjoy watching Brazil as a kid, and Cafu was always part of it, so I saw him a lot. I also watched Rio Ferdinand's too underrated. Buffon is in. because I feel sorry for him because I can't believe he ain't got a Champions League. It winds me up that he hasn't got a Champions League. So he's in there for that. The midfield three, it balls. Again, you don't need goals from that midfield because the front three are going to sort you right out. Sorting you right out. So the midfield three just doesn't lose the ball. Yeah,
I hear that. I mean, that is pretty solid. Zinedine Zidane in there. Yeah, for me, he was the most balanced, probably the best French footballer I have ever seen in my eyes. I know people will say, like the Thierry Henry's, for example, but Zinedine Zidane, yeah. What he done at Real Madrid as well. For me, Paul Scholes has been in every single team. Like, he's not
good.
He's that good, yeah. But you could even argue, like, couldn't Xavi get in there? Maybe.
Xavi's not as good as Paul Scholes. Paul Scholes is one of the top 3-4 midfielders in the history of football. He is phenomenal, and all the other people that people list, you could get 100 people to list their top 5.
Yeah.
If you look at interviews from all those top 5 people, they'll all tell you Paul Scholes is the best. Like that's all I need for my confirmation bias. Paul Scholes was just he could do everything.
Yeah, didn't Iniesta and Xavi big up Paul Scholes? I remember in an interview actually said he's probably the one of the.
Zidane did as well, didn't he?
When they were talking about players that they could play next to, they all picked Paul Scholes.
They picked Paul Scholes. Zidane got interviewed, I think, when he won his Ballon d'Or, or just after, and said, "What's it feel like to be the best midfielder in the world, best player in the world?" And he said, "I don't know. Ask Paul Scholes." So again, the palette for English football players is only in recent times started to change, where we look more at the technique. If Paul Scholes, same age, if he was Italian, French, Spanish, Brazilian, he would be looked at as the greatest ever. It's just because he was Paul Scholes, fairly monotone, ginger, power lad from Manchester that kept himself to himself. No one put him into that. Right. But he did everything. He played attacking midfield and scored goals. He dictated the play in the middle. He moved to a CDM kind of orchestrator role at the end of his career. And every role he did in midfield, he dominated. And as great as all the other midfielders are that you can mention, how many of them could flip and change between those positions? The only thing I kind of wish Paul Scholes had done, he's left Man United, not from a United point, and gone, and maybe at 25, 26, after he won everything here, gone to another big European team and won everything there. And then maybe, because I think there's something about if you can do it in 2 or 3 different leagues, it elevates further. But yeah, Paul Scholes for me, he's almost before his time. I wish he was balling now at his peak. So people see how good he was. It was just poetry in motion.
R9 as well. I mean, how great of a striker was he for you? And what do you remember of him, really? Because, I know he did fade out as he got older a bit. Everyone remembers him as being this, like, fat guy, isn't it? Like, got a bit big and whatever. But, back in his prime, for me, he was definitely the best striker I'd ever seen, to be honest, in the world. So, yeah, why R9 in your eyes?
For that reason, he could dribble past people, he could score, he could, as good as we think. So I've said about Haaland recently. Haaland and Mbappe have given themselves a base to go on to be the best strikers ever to play in Europe. Like they could both go on statistically to do that.
Yeah.
R9 at his pomp just had the technical ability, the finishing ability, the strength, the speed, the agility. The reason Maradona's not, I never saw Maradona play. So that's why I won't, what I never do for these things is pick players just on what I've read. They have to have seen them play football. I missed Zaha out as well. Yeah, I'm very sorry, Wilfried, bruv. Sorry, bro. So yeah, so for me, that's it for me. I just look at those guys there, and it just, that combination of Messi, Ronaldo, and R9, I actually think it could work as well. And imagine Paul Scholes, Zidane, and Iniesta feeding the ball. It'd be amazing. I'd love to see it.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I don't think there's much more really, Indiana, is there? I know we was going to obviously let the viewers, ask some questions to Terry.
Maybe we'll pick out one or two if we like them. But I am going to ask one last question, and that is, what do you love about football now, and what do you hate about it? Throughout your life of watching football, what do you love that's changed? What do you hate about the game that's changed?
Great question. I never really thought about it. I think I love I love the conversation. So as much as I enjoy the game and as much as I enjoy the euphoria of watching it, it's the before and after that I look forward to, talking about it, ranting about it, debating it. That for me has social media has made that amazing. At the same time, what I hate about it is the level of agenda that comes with it. Like, we all have our opinion on things, but I try my best to base my opinion on every my opinion on every player is based on the same standards, and then the integrity remains behind it. So if I want to see, that's why I said earlier, stats. Eye test is very important in football. But when you're talking about the elite end of the spectrum, which I watch, consume, and do shows on, with that eye test must come outputs. Whatever your role is, there needs to be solid output in that. You can't be the best striker in the world but only score 5 goals a season. Yeah. Right? Two players are like neck and neck on ability. One scores 40, one scores 20 goals a season for 3 years running. The guy that's got the 40 a season is better. I don't care about your opinion. I care about the facts. And I think that element is what's kind of gone, where people throw out really weird, like they move the goalpost just to defend one particular. And when I say I hate, that's probably a strong word. It's just tiring because I enjoy the debate, and there's no debate when people are unyielding. And then if you get where I'm coming from, it's like, well, we can't debate it because I don't want to change your mind. What I want is for you to see my point of view, and what I want is for you to explain your point of view to me. The problem is, when you've got an agenda, your point of view changes every time we talk. Don't understand what direction you're coming from, so that makes it hard. And if you get where I'm coming from. So great example. I love ITS. He's a great lad, but 1 minute stats are stupid. Today, I didn't pull him out in it today. Today, he was on the show, and he was talking about how good a certain player was because all the stats he's got. And I'm just sitting there, I can't. That's what I like about the football. So stats are either important or they're not. Eye test merchants are the biggest frauds with this because they always use a negative stat to put down the player who they say who's bad because of the eye test. Terrible. Yeah. Oh, based on what? Based on these 10 statistics that are crap. You just, I look at it and think, am I the only one who's noticed that? But aside from that, I love VAR. The Ronaldo goal last night proves that's why we need tech. That last night was far more infuriating than it taking a minute to get a decision. It's far more infuriating than someone being offside by a millimeter or two. I think people have lost sight of what VAR is and technology has done to the game. You shouldn't have moments last night anymore. So I think what VAR generally has done has been good. Of course, there's moments that are crap. I'm not saying it's perfect. Of course, there's things I hate. The stuff. All players are still suffering. The racism, the sexism, and everything around that. That's, of course, I despise that. It's a prerequisite of myself as an individual, and we've all got to fight to do that. But in terms of football, I love what it's become. I love the frequency of it now, and the fan involvement. Fans are probably more involved in the game now than they were in the olden days, where players would go to the pubs because we've got social media. So I love developed in the last 7-8 years. It's been amazing.
First question for you, Terry. Glazers out says, Terry, the most overrated United legend of all time. Overrated as well.
Oh, what?
Gary Neville?
No, I can't answer the question. I don't think there is one. Because
no?
I'll give you an example. I don't want to be disrespectful. So, no, I can't think of anyone that we call a legend that was overrated. When I look at our legend page on the website, all them players were great. I suppose... No, I can't name one. I won't, and I can't. There isn't one that I can think of where I go, he weren't that good. I can't.
No.
I mean that. I'm serious. I just. If you're that overrated Man United player, I'm not going to say it. I'm backing my team here. I'm not on the terrace, so I can be biased, and I'm not doing it. Oh
God, Prime's in the chat. Terry, would a Prime Fergie win the Premier League or Champions League with this Man United team? Good question.
Maybe because he was that good. However, more chance of winning the Champions League with this team than he does the Premier League because of how good Pep's team is. Because 38 is different, but Fergie is God when it comes to football management at club level in England, and he could orchestrate a system that could make it work. Do you know what he'd do? He'd do that 3 biggest. No way I'm answering that one. I know the 3. So Danny Devil in the details, gem and Indiana. There
Yeah,
we go.
thanks. Yeah, well done, Terry.
Done. Sweet as.
Terry, who do you think is the most underrated Man United player of all time?
Michael Carrick. Michael
good shout.
Carrick is so underrated.
I'd say Roy Keane.
Roy Keane gets it. Yeah, Roy. Now, it's different. Growing up, 1 foot, he was amazing. It's the modern day era that look at him as being, he was a bit of a thug and he was an hard man. And I just think to myself, it's just because you look at pictures, just because he had that wasn't all he was. It's really weird. But yes, I think he's moving into that category. But yeah, him and Carrick, massively underrated.
Ollie in or Ollie out?
Yeah, you got to answer it. I was going to put it in and I was like,
neither. It doesn't matter.
No, you have a go at me for it. You said to me, "Oh, you can't sit on the fence for Lampard." You need to say it.
Oh,
if I
had to say, even with the structure being crap, I'd rather sack him because then it would expose the fact that sacking the manager until the structure is fixed is irrelevant. Because in 2 years we'll be back here saying Nagelsmann in or out, and then Terry's going to sit there laughing at you all. So yeah, that's what I'd pick, Mr. White Knight.
Alexis or Hazard?
Sanchez.
Really? Oh, I don't even want to put
he don't mean that. He don't mean that.
What would your first move be if you go on to purchase Manchester United one day?
Back Woodward.
Yeah. Can't argue that one.
It's day one, the ink dries, and he gets a phone call and he gets escorted out by the boys. The boys go and see him and he gets escorted out the club. Done.
No,
finished.
Terry, as I'm signing it, I'm saying, what's Woodward's phone number? Like, getting his number, and I'm sending him a text message as I'm putting the phone.
Even though he's good at the commercial element, that and my second move would be to eradicate the club of anything that was purchased during the Glazer era. Carpet, curtains,
big bonfire.
Gone. Finished.
Was Carrick better than Keane?
No.
Were they not just too different? Like they weren't really similar players, were they?
If I had to pick one in their pomp to come back, it would be Roy Keane.
Yeah.
If I only could pick one, but yeah, Keano is better.
Well, one of your favourite centre backs of all time outside the Prem.
Sergio Ramos is pretty good. I really like Pepe. Pepe, I liked him. Carlos Puyol. I don't get it. Carlos Puyol, who played Barca. Like he was great. Liked him. He looked like a character from the Warriors film as well. That's what I loved about him. That haircut was so ugly, but he just rocked it. Like,
he lost all credibility when he started doing the salmon, man.
Do you prefer to watch amazing individuals in their prime in a team, or watch an amazing system, team drilled and finely tuned?
I'm sitting on the fence again. You need a combination of the both, but I think for me, I think I prefer to watch amazing individuals. I agree. Barcelona's team amazing, but the games were boring because the other team were never really involved. So I kind of preferred the slightly less system, more about the individuals, because I think the games are more entertaining for that.
You are lucky then, because Man United and individual brilliance. Yeah, everything fits for you, right? Individual brilliance.
I just think in terms of, so if I look at it from a perspective point of view, I get that you can watch a peak Barca team and go, look how well drilled. That's great.
Yeah.
For me, I like to see when it's my team. So let me rephrase that. If it's my team, I want it well drilled, dominant, and we smash the team. When I'm watching a game of football, I want it to be more individual based, so that it's like a tennis match. It's to and throw, so it's more entertaining.
Who is the main player you want Man United to go for in the summer?
Jadon Sancho.
I thought you should say Haaland. No,
Sancho. I thought you would have said Rice.
No, Sancho. Right. We need creativity.
I know. Indiana disagrees with you on that one.
He wants Rice, really.
Sancho would be my number one, followed by Ndidi. I prefer Ndidi over Rice, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. I got one here for. No, it wasn't this one. Where was it? But you can answer that if you want as well, while you're at it.
Is we would have won the 4 on the bounce in the league, and we would have won at least one or two more Champions Leagues. Because Ronaldo was that, it would have elevated us and definitely become better.
Biggest for one season.
Timo Werner.
Don't even go there.
It is
this season.
Oh, it's got to be Thiago, no?
Thiago Alcantara, yeah.
Here's a great question for Man United from Bits and Bobs. Big up Bits and Bobs. The best set piece taker Man United have ever had.
That's easy.
Oh, is it?
It's David
Beckham.
Oh, even with Ronaldo.
No.
A lot of people would say Ronaldo.
Again, this is a preference thing. The way Beckham stood over the ball, the way his body looks, he was like a ballerina. Outside of Man United, I would give it just two. One would be Janino, amazing, and now current player. Ward-Prowse is I think Ward-Prowse will retire as the greatest free kick taker in Premier League history in terms of direct goal scoring free kicks.
Should United sign him, Terry? Do you think United should look at him if they can't get another midfielder? Would you want him there?
I don't know. Do you know that was the player I said it earlier.
Or any big club, any
27. You know, I think he could do. I think he could be a squad. If we bought in Didi and Pogba stay, and then you brought in Ward-Prowse to be a filler, it would work. I don't think he's good enough to build a team around. I don't. Yeah. But if you could bring him on just to take free kicks from the bench, like in NFL, I'd pay 100 mil for him.
Who in your eyes is the worst fan base, Terry, in the Premier League?
And why is it Liverpool? Do you know what? Do you know what I say about fan bases is this? We're all very similar in the cold light of day. When we're winning, we're arrogant sons of bitches. When we lose, we whinge and whine like a 2-year-old who's wet themselves. Like, so we're all the same, really. I think what we do is we attack the fan base that act like, oh, we're not like that. It's like you are. You're just in a good space right now, so you're happy.
Best youngster currently in the Premier League for you?
On potential, it's Greenwood. On actual performances, it's Phil Fodon, I'd say.
Where's Mason Mount, man? What's this biased? Why can't Mason Mount get in this?
Talk to Frank about that one.
David wouldn't be too happy with that, would he? Let's be serious.
No, he wouldn't.
What's this, Terry? Why are Leicester Pool Rovers the worst defending champions of all time?
No comment.
Funny. Terry, will you ever see United win a league title under the Glazers in your eyes?
Only if they change the foundation structure and running of the club. If they set winning titles to be the most important thing to them, then they can, because we've won it before. If we operate, even with the Glazers there, if it operates well in the right way, it can happen again. If we continue to operate as we've done in the last 8 years, we will never win another league title under their leadership. It is impossible.
Higher ceiling, Fodon or Sancho?
Sancho.
Oh, I don't know. I'd say Fodon. I would say Fodon.
Yeah.
I'll go
They're
Sancho.
so close, though, aren't they? They're so close.
Yeah.
I would say Sancho. I think Foden's massively talented, but Sancho, what he's doing in Dortmund at the moment, and he plays consistently as well. I mean, you can't really moan at Fodon for that, really. That's not his fault, is it? He just can't get into such a great Man City team, isn't it, at the moment? So it just is what it is. We could literally be sitting here all day, Terry, reading these questions out because they're flying in. God, this is a funny one, actually, from Samuel. Funniest Terrace show you did?
It's hard. Do you know it's really hard?
I know what one it is for me.
What's yours?
Nails. You nailed it.
Oh, now
you nailed it. Yeah.
That's a great moment. You know, it's hard for me because I do all the shows. I'll be honest with you. These last 12 months, every single show feels like it's amalgamated into one. Like I can't differentiate. The funniest I had outside.
Wait, look at this.
Oh,
how good is Midnight Vibes? You know what? Midnight Vibes is all right. We just need a new host. We just need a new host.
Agreed.
I think actually, I love Midnight Vibes. Great show.
Aaron, the Doncaster fan, put him in.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Mate, honestly, I love that kid. I think one of the funniest ones I had prior to all of what we're doing now was where it was me, Adam Charles, and Have Hope in the studio. And I'm not going to say Have Hope's real name. Have Hope is clearly a character. It's an alter ego. When I spanked myself, that was fine. What about when I fell off my chair drunk?
Oh, you were pissed. I remember that as well.
He got tickled. So, like, what it was, Adam Charles poked him in the ribs and it tickled him. And you saw the real person, not Have Hope, come out for a second. And he broke character. And that triggered me. I couldn't stop laughing for 5 minutes on air. And I was gone. I couldn't be professional. It was finished. And it was a bit like, imagine you see like a Borat or a Bruno character just come out of that for a second because something cracked them up so much. Yeah, so yeah, that was a good show, but yeah, so many.
On that note, should we leave it there? I'm assuming you've got to sort out Midnight Vibes.
I've actually got to I've got to get it done.
Guys, please smash that like button. Obviously, it's our first ever show hosting between me and Indiana, and it won't be our last. We'll be doing this every Sunday, trying to find, big YouTubers, people that are pretty much like a public figure out there, get them on, have their say. Maybe footballers, referees, ex-footballers. You know, we're really going to try and delve into it and try and bring you the content, and also allow you to get your questions in as well, which we'll be doing more on Twitter as well, where we will ask you guys beforehand,
definitely,
rather than doing what we're doing now, which is just get you to do it last minute. But Terry, thanks, mate. We appreciate you as always coming on here and showing your support and everything. But guys, please smash the like button. Have a lovely evening. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace as always.
Yep.
Make sure you go and watch Midnight Vibes as well, which is on in 45 minutes. I think it is now. So guys, peace, take care, and enjoy your evening. See you later.
Take care.